The first line of the 9 burials withering root art hovered in the dead chamber like a cut vein. To cultivate a root rejected by heaven, first bury the heaven that rejected it. Lin Fan read it once. Then again. The words were theatrical, but the principle beneath them was precise. Heaven did not mean the sky or some moral judge. It meant the first external classification, spirit root grade, sect value, assigned path, expected ceiling. The art's opening demanded that the cultivator identify the judgment that had shaped the root's behavior and bury it as cultivation material. Dangerous. If taken emotionally, it would create resentment cultivation. If taken technically, it could loosen mental and spiritual constraints around a damaged root. Lin Fan chose the technical route. The chamber offered the second line. Do not cut decay away. Teach it to circle. Better. That matched what he had already done crudely with the poison ring. The art refined the principle. Decay, poison, contamination, and stagnant chi should not be purged immediately. Purging weakened already damaged roots. Instead, the art taught rotation, bind impurities into controlled burial rings around the root, compress them into layers, then force the root to grow through them, consuming only what it could dominate. Like roots through corpses. Lin Fan's eyes narrowed. The method was brutal, but intelligent. The third line appeared. 1 burial, 1 hunger. 9 burials, 1 root. The chamber tried to unfold a diagram. Lin Fan stopped it again. Not from caution alone. From selection. His current body could not carry the complete diagram. Too much information too quickly would disturb the memory core and perhaps attract the observer's attention. He needed the first burial only. First burial, he said. The other lines withdrew. The chamber considered him. The roots on the walls pulsed once. Then the art rearranged itself. First burial, the burial of assigned weakness. Required material, 1 damaged root, 1 external judgment, 1 controlled impurity ring, 1 breath of decay chi. Optional material, blood from a public humiliation. Lin Fan almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because the art had taste. Blood from public humiliation could serve as emotional catalyst, binding the rejected judgment more tightly before burial. Many desperate cultivators would use their own shame, making the method unstable. Lin Fan had something better. Xianxia's apology. Not blood, but social reversal. The technique might not require literal blood if the principle was understood. The public humiliation had changed the weight attached to Lin Fan's assigned weakness. The outer mountain no longer fully believed he was waste. That shift created loosened karmic pressure around the old label. Useful. The chamber offered a line as if answering his thought. If blood is absent, use witness. Witness binds name. Lin Fan's gaze sharpened. This art understood social force. Not in sophisticated political terms, but as cultivation pressure. A root was not shaped only by flesh and chi. It was shaped by how the world named it and how the cultivator accepted or resisted the naming. Public judgment could become a fetter. Public reversal could become a crack in the fetter. That explained why the inheritance demanded rejects. Geniuses had strong roots but little pressure of rejection to bury. Their heaven fed them too cleanly. This method required dirt. Lin Fan had dirt. Plenty. He read the first burial diagram carefully. Step 1, stabilize impurity ring. Step 2, identify the assigned weakness. Step 3, draw decay chi through the ring, not the root. Step 4, compress external judgment into a burial mark. Step 5, let root grow through burial mark for 1 breath. Step 6, close before hunger chooses. The final line repeated the warning from the chamber wall. Do not let hunger choose. Lin Fan appreciated that the art repeated the important part. The chamber offered the complete first sequence. This time, he accepted it. Dark green characters flowed from the dead stump into the air, then into his eyes. They did not enter as memory alone. They entered as pressure around the spirit root, mapping channels the current body did not yet possess and marking where future cultivation would need to carve them. Pain followed. Not sharp. Deep. The root junction recognized the method and wanted to begin immediately. The poison ring turned. The green-black thread split at the tip, opened like a mouth tasting air. Decay Chi in the chamber leaned toward him. Lin Fan closed the thread. Not now. The art settled reluctantly. He turned attention to the dead stump again. Price. The chamber pulsed. A new set of characters appeared, not poetic this time. Each burial creates hunger equal to the weakness buried. Hunger seeks matching food. If unfed, it consumes vitality. If overfed, it consumes judgment. If uncontrolled, it consumes root. Lin Fan read the lines without surprise. Power that used impurities as material would create appetite for impurities. A cultivator might begin by burying weakness, then seek increasingly toxic materials, increasingly cruel reversals, increasingly dangerous public judgments to feed the root's hunger. The method could produce rapid growth and monstrous instability. In the hands of someone like Imoyen, it would become slaughter. In the hands of someone like Qin Mo, perhaps obsession. In the hands of the old 16-year-old Lin Fan, it might have become revenge fever. In his hands now, it would become tool. If controlled. He asked the next question. Compatibility with reforged roots. The chamber remained still for 2 breaths. Then the roots inside the stump shifted into a pattern not included in the main art. Reforged roots may use burial rings as temporary scaffolds. Do not complete 9th burial before choosing final root direction. Completing 9th burial without direction produces devouring root. Lin Fan's eyes narrowed. Devouring root. Dangerous. Powerful. Crude if uncontrolled. It would match parts of his future needs, but choosing such a direction too early would invite rapid strength at the cost of subtlety. He had no intention of letting a dead lineage decide his final route. So the art could be used as scaffolding. Excellent. He could perform the first burial to stabilize the current root mark, use the impurity ring as controlled material, prevent the split from healing crooked, and delay choosing final root direction until better resources appeared, medicinal pool, spirit mine residue, perhaps later bloodwood or shadowwood materials. The art's risk remained high. But risk with structure could be priced. Lin Fan reached toward the dead stump's hollow. This time, the roots did not resist. At the bottom of the hollow lay a thin root shaving, black-green, dry, curved like a fingernail. It was not a treasure in the ordinary sense. It was a cultivation primer, a piece of the original root used to anchor the inheritance. If planted into the first burial ring, it would help shape the circulation and prevent immediate collapse. It would also create a link to the chamber. No gift without leash. Lin Fan did not take it immediately. He examined the link. The root shaving carried no active consciousness, but it held memory pressure. If absorbed completely, it might allow the inheritance to influence later hunger patterns. If refused, first cultivation would be harder and less stable. If modified, perhaps useful. He used the basin shard to scrape the root shaving in half. The chamber shuddered. Roots on the wall tightened. Lin Fan looked at them calmly. Half now. Half remains here. The chamber's pressure deepened. It disliked the division. Good. Things that dislike division often relied on completeness for control. He placed half the shaving back into the hollow and kept the smaller half on the shard. The chamber did not attack. That answered the question. Acceptable, though unwelcome. Lin Fan wrapped the small root shaving in dosage paper and tucked it into his sleeve near the cooling leaf. The paper browned at the edges immediately. The shaving leaked decay chi even while dormant. He would need to use it soon. Or seal it properly. Current materials insufficient for proper sealing. Therefore, use soon. The chamber offered another set of characters. First cultivation must occur before the borrowed root forgets the entrant. Time limit. Of course. How long? The chamber did not understand the question in spoken terms. It showed an image, 9 drops falling from a root tip into a basin. Each drop struck water, spread, and vanished. 9 intervals. In practical terms, perhaps 2 hours. Perhaps less in the outer world if the chamber's time pressure did not match. He would not risk delay. He needed a place to perform the first burial. Not here. Too much chamber influence. Too much risk of the inheritance shaping the process beyond what he accepted. Not his room. Too many watchers. Not the West training yard. Han Wei. The abandoned spirit mine drainage left branch, perhaps. It held sediment, water, and enough decay chi, but also poison. The medicinal pool beneath the third outer mountain was better, but reaching it now would take too long and require opening another hidden route. The root burial chamber itself expected first cultivation here. Lin Fan disliked fulfilling expectations. But the time limit mattered. He examined the chamber again. 9 basins. 1 hole. Dead stump. Petrified roots. Door sealed behind him. No immediate pursuers. Decay chi abundant. Mechanism responsive to control. Influence risk manageable if he divided the root shaving and refused full intake. Use chamber. But create an exit condition first. He turned to the circular door. Open path after first burial. No response. He placed his bloodied finger on the dead stump. Open path after first burial, or I burn the remaining half. The chamber went still. Ancient inheritances could be proud, but this one had been waiting beneath outer disciples' feet for a very long time. It wanted continuation more than dignity. The roots on the door pulsed once. Agreement. Maybe. He would not trust it fully. He cut another line into his finger and drew a small mark on the inside of the door, not an ancient symbol, but a simple directional scar linked to his blood. If the door refused to open, he could use the scar as a pain anchor and force a partial response. Crude. Better than nothing. The chamber watched. Lin Fan returned to the whole basin and sat beside it. The first burial sequence rested in his mind, dark and heavy, eager to begin. Outside, somewhere above layers of stone, Han Wei and Elder Gu's watcher would be searching for the vanished weak disciple who had not entered by the gate. Time narrowed. The root shaving decayed inside the dosage paper. His body trembled from injury, fever, and lack of rest. Conditions poor. Materials imperfect. Risk high. Opportunity real. Lin Fan placed the wrapped root shaving before him and closed his eyes. Begin, he said. The chamber's green light bent toward him. The whole basin answered first. Its dark surface sank without spilling, forming a shallow depression in the water. At the center of the depression appeared a reflection of Lin Fan's spirit root as the chamber understood it, a pale wood strand wrapped in gray poison, a black-green split sealed by force, a ring of old humiliation not yet buried, and above it all a faint colorless halo the chamber could not name. The observer's trace. Lin Fan's gaze hardened. The chamber had seen more than he preferred. Not clearly. The halo appeared blurred, almost absent, as if the basin could not decide whether it belonged to root, soul, or external mark. But even an unclear reflection was information. If the inheritance could perceive the trace during cultivation, repeated use might teach it to react more strongly. That was another risk. He placed one hand over the basin. Ignore what is not root. The water trembled. It did not obey fully. Of course. The trace sat near his soul, not the root, but the 9th burial test had brought the mechanism close enough to notice. The art's hunger might someday try to bury that too. If it succeeded, what would grow through the burial mark? A root shaped by an outside observer? A method capable of feeding on world beyond contact? Or a broken soul consumed by incompatible law? Not today. He pressed the root image downward in the water, forcing attention to the poison ring and surface root. The halo blurred further. Acceptable. The basin then showed another image, the dead stumps remaining half-root, waiting. The chamber wanted him to take it before beginning. Lin Fan's answer remained no. He would cultivate with the smaller half only. Less stable, less powerful, less controlled by the chamber. Power lost now could be rebuilt. Control lost now might never return. The chamber withdrew the basin image reluctantly. It had revealed the observer's trace by accident or by hunger, either possibility made it less trustworthy. Lin Fan marked that as a separate danger from the art itself. A technique could be useful while its repository remained hostile. Many cultivators forgot that distinction. They assumed a helpful method meant a benevolent source. That was how sects trapped disciples with inheritance gratitude and how demonic ruins grew new servants from desperate survivors. Lin Fan owed the chamber nothing. If anything, the chamber owed him continued utility. He looked at the dead stump and made the next selection. No emotional catalyst. The roots paused. The art's first burial preferred witness, shame, or reversal as binding pressure. He had suitable material from Xianxia's public apology. Using it would deepen the burial and strengthen the first ring. It would also tie the foundation's first hunger to face-slapping, social reversal, and humiliation. That path would be satisfying in the short term and poisonous in the long term. If the root learned to feed on humiliation, it would begin seeking humiliations to overturn. That was too vulgar. He would use public reversal as loosened pressure, not as food. External judgment only, he said. No shame. No revenge. The chamber dimmed again. It disliked clean control. Lin Fan did not care. He would decide what the first burial ate. The first burial would not decide what he became. He also rejected another temptation. The art offered an optional acceleration: use a fresh enemy's hostile chi as pressure during the first burial. Xianxia's fire earth chi still lingered faintly in the bruise near Lin Fan's abdomen. Han Wei's metal root tendency might be obtained later. Either could strengthen the burial ring's outer shell. He refused both for now. Hostile chi carried identity. If used too early, the ring might adapt toward countering specific opponents rather than stabilizing the root. That would be useful in a duel and foolish in a foundation. Early foundations remembered first impressions too deeply. Feed them anger, and they looked for anger. Feed them poison, and they looked for poison. Feed them control, and they could be directed toward anything later. Control first. Materials second. Power third. Every desperate cultivator reversed that order. Most died quickly enough to call it fate.